Moving on, the death toll from a bomb attack targeting buses carrying civilians evacuated from two besieged Syrian towns has reportedly reached 112. The explosion rocked the militant-held area of Rashidin on the outskirts of Aleppo. The bombing took place as thousands of evacuees were waiting to continue their journey from Foix and Kafraya to government-held areas. Syrian media blamed the blast on terrorist groups. The evacuation process resumed shortly after the bombing. The last group of civilians who were supposed to leave Foix and Kafraya on Saturday have arrived in government-held areas of Aleppo. The evacuation is part of a deal between foreign-backed militants and the Syrian government. According to the agreement, armed groups and their families leave the militant-held towns of Madaya and Zabadani in Damascus countryside. In exchange, militants allow the evacuation of civilians from Foix and Kafraya in Idlib, which have been under their siege for over 2 years. Publisher and editor of Politics First, Mr. Marcus Papadopoulos, joins us from the British capital, London. Mr. Papadopoulos, welcome to the program. Give us your thoughts on this recent attack that took place on the outskirts of Aleppo and the reactions that has conjured, or it's better yet said, the reactions that it has not received.
Well, the killing of those civilians was a horrendous crime against humanity, a crime against humanity perpetrated by Islamist terrorists who are backed by America, Britain, Turkey, Saudi Arabia and Qatar. The footage we saw yesterday from that terrorist attack was simply appalling. We saw photos of children hanging out of those buses, burnt beyond complete recognition. And despite that concrete evidence, there has been not one condemnation from Washington or from London. And that really demonstrates that the Americans and the British have no moral leg to stand on in the context of Syria and, quite simply, in the context of foreign relations in general.
So it's pretty evident that the likes of the United States and London and the UK, they pick and choose the incidents in which they wanted to react upon.
Yes, they certainly do that. They are very selective. The Americans and the British are only interested in publicising alleged cases where civilians have been murdered, allegedly, by Syrian army soldiers. So we saw the allegation that there was a chemical attack in Idlib province a couple of weeks ago. Indeed, we saw awful footage of children who had been killed. But we don't know how those children were killed. We know that the people putting forward evidence from that town in Idlib were the White Helmets. We know that the White Helmets are sectarian, are murderers, are extremists, and we know that they abduct Shiite children and murder them. But nonetheless, having said that, if Donald Trump is genuinely moved by seeing footage of dead children, then why didn't he comment on the attack yesterday? Because that was concrete evidence that a terrorist attack had occurred there. We saw, as I said just now, we saw children burnt beyond all recognition, hanging out of coaches, and yet Donald Trump said nothing. That serves as another reminder that Mr. Trump is a despicable, loathsome individual, as are all American presidents.
Thank you, sir. Marcus Papadopoulos joining us from the British capital, London.